In this video, I'm going to talk about 5 main practical differences between Sony A7III and A7IV if you're shooting weddings, so you can decide whether should you upgrade or not. 1, 2, 3, go! Hello everyone, my name is Magic. I'm a destination wedding photographer, Sony Europe ambassador, and father of 4 children. Welcome to this YouTube channel. They mostly talk about gear for weddings, Sony gear for weddings, and wedding photography in general. So consider subscribing if you're into that. So today I'm talking upgrading your camera from A7 III to A7 IV specifically for wedding photography. And let me get something straight first. Upgrading your camera is something that your client will not notice. There's no chance that your client will know or be aware that you missed a shot because, I don't know, autofocus was too slow or something like that, or you missed your shot because buffer in your camera was full. No chance. Your clients will be happy with whatever you'll provide to them. You know, it's about emotions in the photos. So obviously you upgrade your camera for your own convenience. Having a better camera, having a faster camera, having a camera that is more comfortable to hold and stuff like that. It's something for your own convenience, especially for wedding photographers that spend with camera 8 to 12 hours a day every week for 50 weeks straight or something like that. So yeah, it is important to have a camera that you feel comfortable with and that is working for you well. Okay, now let's get into my 5 practical differences. So first one, the biggest one, is the out of focus difference. Sony A7 IV has a real-time tracking out of focus system, which is a game changer in terms of, focusing when there's multiple people in the frame, focusing on a specific person, and then tracking that person. This is like when you start using real-time tracking in A7 IV, or maybe you've used it in A9 or A1 or some of the, more high-end cameras, you will know that this is something that you cannot go back from. So of course A7 III has an amazing focus, has an amazing eye out of focus, but it's lock-on feature. So this is the option that you have in A7 III that is sort of a, kind of a tracking. It's nothing close to real-time tracking in A7 IV. And on top of that, you can also set your A7 IV to focus priority. There's this aperture drive option, focus priority, which lets your camera focus better when it's dark and when you're using higher f-stop. And that's crucial for wedding photographers. We shoot dance floor using f4, f5, f8, f11, and focusing can get problematic on A7 III when it gets dark and you're using such a high aperture values. I have a full video on the aperture drive and how it works and how different it is when you set it up. So make sure you watch that video. But yeah, that's a game changer also. So A7 IV is superior thanks to this option as well. Okay, number 2 is improved ergonomics. So again, every wedding photographer spends tons of time with the gear, 8, 12 hours a day easily. So it's massively important how comfortable your camera is to hold. So A7 III has already somewhat improved the ergonomics in terms of how big the grip is. The original A7, then A7 II, these had really small grips and it was really uncomfortable to hold. Sony A7 III is slightly better with this, but then if you're shooting 8, 12 hours and you have big hands, or maybe you mount a flash on top of your camera gets heavy and it's really quite uncomfortable to hold for that long. And many people would end up getting a grip for A7 III. I used to have L bracket for my A7R III, especially for the camera that my flash on for the evening part of the day, and that was my go-to. But now with A7 IV and its improved grip, the grip is way bigger. I don't need this anymore. The grip is very comfortable. It's the biggest grip actually Sony has. It's even slightly bigger than the other new generation cameras. So this is a comparison between the grip on A7 IV, A7 III, and A9 Mark II. You can see that the A7 IV has actually the biggest grip, so it's really comfortable to hold. And then all the buttons, wheels, and dials, these are also improved from A7 III, so they're more comfortable. The buttons are bigger, they're more comfortable to click. You have the new exposure compensation dial, which is lockable and programmable and actually much more comfortable to use. So all the dials and basically all the camera build and holding it in your hands makes it a superior camera in terms of experience with the camera. And then on the mode dial you also had 1, 2, 3 now custom modes. It used to be just 2 custom modes, so if you are using custom modes in the menu to set your camera, like having additional one, it's also a plus. So I'd say like the overall design of the camera, improved ergonomics, it's a big point in my opinion. 3, dual UHS 2 card slot. So wedding photographers shoot dual cards, always. And if they don't, they probably will at some point, and they will learn the hard way. So both A7III and A7IV has dual card slots for SD cards, but A7III had one slot that was faster, UHS-2 slot, and then one slot that was slower, UHS-1 slot. So when recording RAW files, even compressed RAW files, to your cards simultaneously, it would write the RAW files to the card at a slower speed of UHS-1 speed, even though if you had like super fast cards. So I had the fastest cards, 300 megabytes per second write speed, and yeah, like clearing the buffer was painfully slow. So compressed RAWs on A7III, you can have like 60 of them in a burst, but then to clear them from the buffer, it takes time. So even shooting like, you know, burst photos here, burst photos there, and you know, having these moments that you should burst, this camera could be slow on you. And with A7IV, 2 card slots are actually UHS-2. One of them also takes the CFA cards, but I won't get into that. There's a separate video on how I use memory cards on Sony A7IV for weddings. It's a really good video, watch that. But basically, if you use 2 fastest cards in A7IV, even though you had a bigger files to write, the camera will still fit like 50 to 60 compressed RAW files in the, you know, in the buffer, but then clearing the buffer is super fast. Like it takes few seconds just to clear full buffer. So even if you just stop shooting your burst for just like 1 second, you can like immediately start shooting back again. This is how fast the camera is. So there's minimal chance that you will ever have to wait for your camera. So if you're like me, like shooting burst in specific moments of the wedding day, and your camera was slowing on you because it was writing the stuff to your cards, yeah, that's a big improvement here. Number 4, faster start. So yeah, as simple as that. The Sony A7IV just starts faster and wakes up from a sleep faster. So if you are shooting dual cameras, like I would shoot 2 identical cameras. I would shoot 2 A7R3s, you know, and I'm shooting 1 camera and I want to just grab the second one just to take another photo, but it, you know, went to sleep. So waking it up was like waiting for the camera to wake up. Let me know if you also, you know, had this when you're shooting with these cameras. And yeah, of course, you can set up, you know, the power off stuff to 30 minutes so it doesn't go to sleep basically. But then, you know, the screen is all the time on, the camera gets warm, the battery drains faster. So it's not, you know, the best solution. So yeah, A7IV just starts faster. So shooting 2 of these cameras, again, you don't have to wait for the camera to wake up. And number 5, last but not least, the better LCD, better electronic viewfinder, and more megapixels and more video features. Yeah, I know this is more than just one feature, but yeah, these are sort of like personal preferences and these are not that crucial, so I did 1 point out of these. So first of all, better LCD screen and electronic viewfinder in terms of resolution. That's a big change. You know, A7III like had a crappy screen. The screen wasn't that good, you know, to review your photos. So the screen on A7IV is much improved. It matches all the other Sony cameras, but then it also flips. That's a personal preference. I know people who love that screen, you know, flips, and the other who hates it. So I think like this is like a personal like preference, personal choice if you want to flip a screen or not. The same goes with megapixels. I love that this camera has 33 megapixels, so that's like 9 megapixels more than A7III, which makes it more convenient, you know, cropping and then also designing an album. I never have a problem having, you know, like full-blown spread in like one photo. So yeah, so that's a convenience, but also a personal preference. To like 24 megapixels was never enough for me. That's why I never shot a 9 Mark II camera, which is an amazing camera, but I was shooting A7R III because I preferred more megapixels than 24. So 33 is a sweet spot for me. And then video features of the A7IV, like these are much improved from A7III. So I know many wedding photographers who do occasional videos on their cameras because they can. So with A7IV, the most crucial difference is that you have 10-bit 422 codec. And this is like shooting JPEG and RAW. Like for me, that doesn't do video other than these YouTube videos and, you know, some smaller videos. For me, shooting with 8-bit was always a problem if I didn't, you know, get a right white balance. And then on top of that, you have great autofocus in video, focus breathing control, like many video features that A7IV has that A7III doesn't have which makes A7 IV worth upgrading for this. So that's it. That's my 5 reasons to upgrade to Sony A7 IV. So if you have been watching this video and just nodding me like, yeah, hey, he's right. Yeah, I also had this problem. That means that maybe you should consider upgrading your Sony A7 III to A7 IV. But yeah, it's a personal preference. For some of those features won't be such groundbreaking, and you will still be good with your A7 III. You know, A7 III is an amazing camera. Again, your clients will not see the difference. Photos will turn out amazing. So if you're having fun with this camera and none of these features convince you, then you can stay with your A7 III and just invest in better lenses. Thanks so much for watching the video. Support the channel, purchase the presets with the online course. The bundle is at discounted price. And yeah, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and see you guys in the next video.